So today we're going to get into iron overload. What's going on with iron overload? What does it have to do with the ketogenic diet? And how you can still stay on a ketogenic diet even if you have iron overload, and why you should. So I'm going to continue this conversation by showing some sources of different things that I've found. I also want to say I've implemented these changes into my own diet and I've noticed some change. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video. I got this amazing email from Bernard. Thank you, Bernard, from Austria. And he wanted to know a little bit more about Huntington's disease. So I definitely recommend pausing the video here and kind of reading through some of these sources that I'm providing. But this one is talking about iron overload. I believe iron overload happens when you're not getting enough copper in your diet. And it's really about the ferritin. So ferritin is iron storage, and when there is not proper storage, then it can result in oxidative stress to the brain and Huntington's disease, which is exactly what they're finding in the research, which is really interesting and important to understand. So how do you correct this issue? One, you've got to get in more you've got to figure out ferritin, what that means, and you also need to figure out how to store. Well, according to this article, it says that when you want to store more of your iron and you can't, it's basically because you're not getting enough copper in your diet. And so basically the copper helps you store your iron properly so that you can use it properly for oxygen in the body. And when your tendons get all tight, it's because there's not enough oxygen, or you've eaten something with too much iron in it. And sometimes that's even cooking on iron. So, we have all these iron skillets now that everybody says is great, but here it's showing that it affects the spleen. And if you have kind of a circulating iron in your body that's not being utilized properly. And so the ferritin is found in significant amounts in the liver and the spleen, the bone marrow, and even the blood. And so if the liver gets overtaxed by too much iron, then that can cause movements. And so I have noted that after eating a heavy iron diet, if I don't do something to mitigate this situation, then I have issues. And that mitigation could be from eating shellfish with the meal, or it can also be from smoking cannabis or even nicotine, which is now being studied for Parkinson's. So it's really about understanding how you can get to iron deficiency even if you're eating a lot of iron, because you're not being able to properly store the iron in ferritin. And so having copper in the diet helps it to be able to be stored there. There's also some people who do well with going to get their blood drawn, or who have hemochromatosis, which is high elevation of iron in the blood and in the body. And so that's something just to be really understanding of how the ferritin truly works. So now we're going to kind of go backtrack a little bit about this. We're going to listen to this video from, I can't remember his name, but it'll come up.
The most dangerous sign of a copper deficiency is not gray hair, it's not cold hands or cold feet, it's not even the loss of collagen, which can give you stretch marks. Copper protects us against too much iron and helps us store iron effectively. Copper also helps us transport iron through the body safely. The most dangerous problem with a copper deficiency has to do with what it does to iron. Here's why. Without enough copper, you get the side effects of iron, which are cirrhosis.
The liver, cirrhosis of the liver. Even if you have fibrosis, even if you have non non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's all part and parcel of the issue.
The liver, increased risk of developing pathogens, the rusting out of the organs, the damaging of your heart, all on top of not being able to use iron in your blood, so you're actually anemic.
All right, so what are the best copper animal food sources? Because if you're eating a ketogenic diet, you still want to continue on that. You don't want to add carbohydrates to the mix that really poison the liver, or fruit that poisons the liver, right? And so here we're just kind of looking at what's going on. And yes, fruit poisons the liver. Yes, it does. You might want to look into Harvard, the research that Harvard's done about fruit and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But I really do recommend that these are the best sources that that I know of. I like, personally, I've posted a video before about mussels. Mussels have a great source of copper. All fish have some sort of copper in it, but salmon has the most. Tuna has some too. Sardines has some too. So, you know, any kind of seafood would really be beneficial for the liver, not only because it's got copper, but also because it's got animal fat in it. And the animal fat is so good for the nervous system, not to mention it helps you absorb vitamin D. I'm still around. I'm still doing things. I get comments every once in a while, like, are you still doing videos? And honestly, I've been so busy with my life, trying to get back to taking care of myself, as well as, you know, taking care of all the business that I need to do now that I am a single woman. So I've got to make sure that I've got my rent paid, etc., right? So I haven't forgotten about y'all. I've just been trying to live my life. So if you have questions, let me know. Let me know what your questions are. In fact, Bernard, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I am going to do a follow-up video when I have some more time to talk more about cannabis oil, because I do see that that is a popular kind of topic. And I feel like cannabis oil and cannabis in general needs its own big, long video. And so until then, definitely stay on that ketogenic diet, you know, consume cannabis in any way that you can, and, you know, just stay positive, because there is so much that we are just really starting to find out about Huntington's disease that really puts it in a bigger picture of how diet really does make a difference. And I'll also be doing another video in the future about how pharmaceuticals steal nutrients from the diet. But I do have one video on my channel about it. I would really recommend that you watch it if you haven't already. See you next time.